It's been over a month since Metro released, so I think it's that time again. Let's discuss the future of Stepford County Railway. The hype of the Metro update has definitely died down now. It was possibly the biggest update in SCR in terms of content, right up there with the airport reshuffle in 1.10. However, for me personally, this update lacks new branches. All we got in terms of new areas to explore was Barton and Coxley Newtown, which are also just shockingly close to each other, at 0.2 miles, just like Port Benton and Morganstown docks. Aside from that, we got some track changes at Stepford East, a new junction, and of course the metro tunnels with 4 ways. However, there's no surface content to explore. With that, I think we can immediately get to the next part of this video and look at some expansion potential. Right off the bat, Metro wins in this category. Express and Airlink ain't getting anywhere, expanding Connect would break the map, we'll get to that later though, and Waterline has had all its potential used up. There are 4 particular lines I'd still like to see on Metro. First off, there's the Southgate extension, part of the original Metro plans. I think we all kind of want an extension like this, serving more of core Stepford, like Metro is supposed to. Possible stations here include Stepford University, Stepford Southgate, St Helens Park, and Old Harrow. There definitely wouldn't be a full loop, but I can definitely see this being a 2-part expansion. One from Stepford Victoria to, say, Stepford Southgate, and one from New Harrow or St Helens Bridge to St Helens Park. Secondly, Wharton Plaza. Yes, it was a fake leak, but the idea of a new area branching off the Stepford UFC line is captivating. And, thirdly, the line of trees. Why not connect it to Wharton Plaza, making a nice little loop? It also adds a lot of variety to the network. It could also be used by Connect to get to Whitefield, as the line of trees does end near the top of the Whitefield branch. And fourthly, Metro could use the branching tracks at Barton to make a new line, not to Greenslade, but to some new area. The area south of Greenslade is literally an empty field, so it makes a lot of sense to put something there, and honestly, it makes sense to give Metro at least one suburban-ish branch. A little bit earlier, I said a Connect expansion would break the map. What did I mean by this? Well, I'll tell you exactly. Stepford County Railway has one of the largest maps in Roblox, period. In fact, it is the only game aside from Galaxy where I've seen the assets visibly shake towards the edges, specifically at Lynn by the Sea. This is a characteristic of large maps because as you go farther out from the center, barely, the incredibly small errors in floating point computing get more and more visible, causing the map to break. In Roblox's case, by shaking increasingly violently until you crash out, the game is unplayable, or you get an epileptic fit. This isn't the issue. It's just a testament as to how large SCR's map has become. The issue is the incredibly high part count. Every time you load into SCR, you have to load one of the biggest maps in Roblox with massive amounts of scenery. Obviously, not the entire map is loaded on first load, but a major part of it is. Until SCR further optimizes the part counts, with things like meshed rails and scenery updates, SCR can't expand, because the game will get too unoptimized. And that brings us to the next point, which is optimization. SCR's main problem, and kind of Roblox's problem. If you watched my SCR vs British Railway video, you'll know what I think of SCR's optimizations, but I'll summarize it. SCR has much higher ping on all networks, especially on mobile, causing disconnection issues or just lag, especially in the Stepford area. Although the situation in the Stepford area has improved since the Metro update, it's still behind its quote-unquote competition. Some things that we want and would improve optimization would be meshed rails as well as optimizing and reducing part counts on a lot of the scenery. It's kind of ironic that the game trying to emulate that more classic Roblox feel is less optimized than the one that tries to be realistic. It could also be a genuine issue with the Roblox engine, as it was made in 2006 and probably not with large games like SCR in mind. Even though it has been updated numerous times since then, the original framework is still the core, and it probably wasn't made for this. SCR is pushing the platform and its users' devices to their limits. The optimization issue will definitely have to be solved before any large outward map expansions, so I think it should be SCR's priority to finally mesh the rails, and maybe even add third rail back alongside a new 777 variant, since the current Metro 777 uses a pantograph. SCR portrays British railway operations well, and I don't think it lacks any features. It's also completely functional as a network. However, SCR definitely has a few features it could add that I think the players would want. Number 1. AI passengers. A prerequisite for this is, of course, optimization improvements. However, if that's done, we could very well see AI passengers populating the world just like in British Railway. Imagine driving a 777 in the tunnels, but instead of it being empty, it is filled to the brim with sitting and standing passengers. It would bring a lot of lovely realism to the world, and it would make SCR feel alive, which is something it's lacked since its inception. Number 2. Prototyping Center features. SCR already has a prototyping center, with multiple features such as meshed rails and guard panels. I think SCR should definitely go ahead with implementing these as soon as possible, because not only would they add some much needed change to the network, but they're already mostly developed. The meshed rails exist, the panels exist, it all just has to be put together. Also, please give us the pantographs! And finally, number 3. Another series of train upgrades. SCR currently has all of its models in NGV3, that being fully meshed. However, only the version 2.2 trains are fully up to date. It's definitely not a top priority, however, I feel like all of SCR's pre-version 2.2 trains need some minor updates, especially the ones which were reworked before version 2.0. These upgrades would include the features seen on the Class 777 mostly, with working gap fillers, updated door chimes and animations, engine sounds, etc. SCR already primarily lacks in the sound department. Additionally, we could bring the 777's in-train map feature to some other trains that would realistically have it, such as the 730, 720, 707, and 345, as well as general wayfinding improvements which would be realistic. This could also potentially include new announcements. I just thought of adding platform screen doors to some stations, and then I remembered 357s exist, so yeah, no, just forget about that. That is nightmare fuel. Anyways, that's pretty much all the ways SCR can expand in the future. Although, knowing the devs and how horribly my last prediction video aged, we are definitely not getting any of the things listed in this video.